ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे. So how this Bhagavad Gita as it is manifested? So I'll try to discuss that today. So Srila Prabhupada, he met a spiritual master in which year? 1922. And that was the time when Srila Prabhupada 1 instructed Srila Prabhupada 2. Yes, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He instructed A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada at that time, only A.C. as Abhay Charan. So he was instructed that you should preach in English to educated ones. Western world, etc. All that we know. Then in the year 1925, Srila Prabhupada visits Vrindavan, and there he gets to hear more from his spiritual master. He was still a grahastha, but then he would sit with other sannyasis, disciples of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and he would hear Saraswati Thakur speaking. And then in the year 1933, he receives formal initiation from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Now it's very nice to note that in all these interactions, Srila Prabhupada was getting closer and closer to his spiritual master, and he had the desire to render service. In 1935, the very historic meeting where Saraswati Thakur, on the banks of Radhakund, he instructs Prabhupada, at that time Abhay Charan, that whenever you get money, print books. This was the glorious instruction that was given. Now, being a grahastha, along with that preaching, writing books, at that time he was not writing books, but he was writing articles. Now, when all these things are going on, something has to be compromised. And Srila Prabhupada, this was in the year 1938, his previous business was not going that well. So he started a new business in Kolkata. That picked up well. But then Prabhupada was not very keen about making money. He was more interested in preaching. So in the various interviews, various people say that he was more concerned with writing and preaching than with his business and family. Now look at Prabhupada's intensity, Prabhupada's one-pointed focus. And during that time, Srila Prabhupada is writing some articles, and Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur here told that whatever he writes, whatever Prabhupada writes, whatever he writes, print that. This was the instruction that was given. Because Saraswati Thakur liked the way Srila Prabhupada would write, especially the content, what he would present. So some of the disciples, they said that can we have him in our team? Maybe he can be inside the temple, he can do this, he can do that. At that time, Saraswati Thakur, he said, it is better that he's living outside your company. When the time comes, he will do everything himself. And in the year 1939, Abhay, he wrote the introduction to Gita Upanishad. This is the beginning of Prabhupada's writing, especially about Bhagavad Gita. So that was a short piece in which Prabhupada wrote. But then this indicated that in future, he is going to do something big when it comes to Bhagavad Gita, and he is going to give his own commentary on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita commentaries were there, But authentic Gaudiya Vaishnava commentary in English language was missing. And Srila Prabhupada, he had that thing in the mind, one day I'll complete this writing, commentary on Bhagavad Gita, and present Bhagavad Gita as it is. Now, whenever he would get time, he would write. Now, you can imagine, I'm talking about Srila Prabhupada when he was 43 years old. 1939, 43 years old. Pretty young. Family man with kids, business. But whenever he would get time, he would write. He would write commentary on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. This was in 1940s. The exact year is not known. Srila Prabhupada completed the entire commentary on Gita. More than 1,000 pages of manuscripts were ready. So he was staying in Kolkata at that time. So he had kept that on some table in his room. And unfortunately, one day it was stolen. Now there was a huge financial crisis that Prabhupada was going through at that time. And also it was described that it was intense personal hardship also when it comes to his business and other things. And in that, this thing took place. And Prabhupada, in one of the lecture, he says, the thief who took the manuscript likely did not know its value. That's a fact. For him, it might be some papers only. I don't know what he might have done with those papers. But it was very, very valuable. Can you imagine you write a WhatsApp message to send it across to people, official message, and it gets deleted. I don't know about you all, but at least it happens frequently with me. I have to compose big messages, to circulate around official messages. And when it gets deleted, it's almost like heart-breaking thing. One small message getting deleted. And I curse myself, why I did this? I should have saved it here, saved it there. You can imagine 1,000 pages manuscript stolen. Huge thing. Then Srila Prabhupada, he gets sannyas, he prepares to go to West. And 1965 is the year, a very important year, when Srila Prabhupada traveled from India to West. And when he was staying in New York, at that time, obviously in India itself he has completed the first canto in 3 volumes. He was working on second canto now. But most of his time, now he was investing in writing commentary to Bhagavad Gita. It is described that when Prabhupada, when he first arrived on the western shores, he went to Butler, Pennsylvania. He stayed there for some time with the Agarwal families. And then he shifted from there to New York. And there he was staying in a shelter given by a Mayavadi, Dr. Mishra. Their conversations are very nice. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that you are Mishra. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's father's name was Jagannath Mishra. Therefore you should help me in preaching. And then our Dr. Mishra, who is Mayavadi, says, there is no difference between you and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. You can do it by yourself. So Prabhupada was trying his best to preach at that time. Dr. Mishra would invite him. Once or twice he asked Prabhupada to speak, and then Dr. Mishra understood it's very dangerous to allow him to speak. Only for Kirtan, Prabhupada would be called. But Prabhupada would sit behind when Dr. Mishra is giving class, and then he would tell the students who are hearing, it's not proper, I'll tell you. And Prabhupada would get them to his room, and he would preach. Now Prabhupada had a dictaphone, he had a typewriter, and he was writing his commentaries through all this. One day when he went out to see his various Bhagavatam, because wherever the Bhagavatam sets were placed, he would go and check, gaya ki nahi, who is reading. When he used to go to library to check who is reading, how many have read. So when he would see that so-and-so person has read Bhagavatam or he has picked up Bhagavatam or he's issued Bhagavatam from library, he would be very happy. So one day he was out like this and his dictaphone, his typewriter and some manuscripts were stolen. Some devotees say that this was the second time, when some scripts were stolen. सोचिए हमारा एक WhatsApp message delete होता है तो problem. Look at this, Srila Prabhupada. It's a big thing, because he does not have money. He's old, new place. Somehow he's trying to survive in that place. And in that, all these things are taking place. So in March 1966, his typewriter was stolen, dictaphone was stolen. Now in January 1967, he completed the entire commentary to the Gita for the second time. So now it was ready. Bhagavad Gita as it is, Bhaktivedanta purports are ready. In 1965, it was the last book that he had published. The third volume of first canto. Before leaving India, he had published third volume of first canto. Now, these manuscripts of Bhagavad Gita, they filled his trunk. And now the question was about publishing this. So Srila Prabhupada writes a letter to Brahmananda Prabhu. Prabhupada would often do this every week. Once at least he would write to his New York disciples. At that time Prabhupada was in India. And he wrote to Brahmananda Prabhu that arrange to purchase a new building in New York, get copies of Kirtan record, get a copy of movie a filmmaker had made of the devotees. And then he also writes, investigate the possibility of publishing Bhagavad Gita. And look at Prabhupada's confidence. He writes to Brahmananda Prabhu, if I'm assisted by one expert typewriter, we can publish every 3 months one book. Here's Prabhupada's confidence. And whenever Prabhupada would get any chance to talk to someone about publishing book, he would do that. There was one person called Allen Ginsberg. He was a famous poet of Beat generation. And he would visit New York temple. And when Prabhupada was there, so at that time he tried talking to Allen Ginsberg. And he said, see, you're a famous author. You talk to your contacts and see if you can publish this book. He's talking on Bhagavad Gita as it is. So Allen did that. He took that manuscript and then he went to different contacts of his own. And he came back to Prabhupada and he said, they were not very impressed, claiming the book had very little commercial value. Oh. Can you imagine? This was the first review that Prabhupada gets about his book. When he was in India, he tried publishing Bhagavad Gita as it is through Gita Press. Now, Gita Press people already had their own. So, he was not successful there also. Prabhupada finally, when he came to New York, so at that time, he gave the manuscripts to Brahmananda Prabhu and he said, get it printed, I don't know how you do it. And Brahmananda Prabhu in one of the interviews he says, I don't know anything about publishing. But Prabhupada put the manuscript in my hand saying, you must get this published. So I understood that I have to do this now. Now look at the sincerity of these disciples. You know what Brahmananda Prabhu did? Before publishing a book, he purchased many books on how to publish a book. And he started reading those books. He took a course also on how to publish a book. It was so difficult. When I was trying to understand the situation, I was just thinking, it's so difficult what these people are doing. When he was doing all these different things, he was not understanding what he's supposed to do now. He has got manuscripts. He has got a bona fide instruction, publish it. There is no money, there is no contact, no idea of how to do it. He was clueless. Simultaneously, Srila Prabhupada had recorded some very nice melodious bhajans with instruments in a studio. And that was made into an album and that was distributed. So what these devotees did was, there was a newspaper, local newspaper called the Village Voice. So in that, they had given advertisement about this album. And there were a lot of orders that would come from different people. So what devotees would do is, they would pack the album and then they would courier it. They would mail it. So one day, Brahmananda Prabhu, he got one order and he was extremely happy. He got that letter to Srila Prabhupada and he showed it to Prabhupada and said, "Look, Swamiji, look." They're calling Swamiji only at that time also. This is in the year around 1967, 68. "Look, Swamiji, it's an order from Macmillan." And he said that they are one of the biggest publishers in the entire world. Now Prabhupada was happy. And Prabhupada gave very wonderful instructions to Brahmananda Prabhu. And he said, "Now do not pack and courier it. You personally go and deliver it." And Prabhupada said, when you go to deliver this album, so at that time you say that your Guru is from India and he has written commentary on Bhagavad Gita and he wishes to publish that. And Brahmananda Prabhu next day, he wore tie, suit. He was ready. He was ready with that album. He travels all the way to the huge Macmillan skyscraper. And his hopes were also as big as the building. And when he entered that place, and he was searching who is that person who has ordered this album. And finally, he found that it was a clerk in the mail room. The mail room is a place where all the letters are kept. Yes. And when he went there and when he understood that it was just a clerk and he has nothing to do with publishing a book, he felt very morose. He felt very sad. His hopes were as big as the building. Now everything crushed into powder. But then he was very polite. He spoke to him and then he gave the album. And at the same time, there was one chief executive of Macmillan. He came there to take his letters, to check if there are some letters that's come for him. And it is described at that time the clerk introduced the chief executive to Brahmananda Prabhu, saying that this is James, our senior editor. And as soon as Brahmananda Prabhu heard this, he was amazed. Now before going to this place, Srila Prabhupada had told this very clearly. You tell these lines that my Guru is from India. He has written commentary on Bhagavad Gita. He wants to publish it. And Prabhupada very confidently had told, they will publish, don't worry. And when Brahmananda Prabhu was leaving from the temple the next day, he was thinking how confident Prabhupada is. And now, when there's a meeting that is taking place between that chief executive, Mr. James, and Brahmananda Prabhu, so Brahmananda Prabhu, he was so happy, he just tried repeating what Srila Prabhupada had told. He said, my Guru is from India and he has written commentary on Bhagavad Gita and he wishes to publish it. And at the same time, from the other side, there was an amazing response. They said, Mr. James, he said, that, oh, that's amazing. We have published a series of spiritual book and only Bhagavad Gita was missing. We'll publish it. Now, Brahmananda Prabhu, what do you think Brahmananda Prabhu was thinking? I think the only thing that he might have said is, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So Brahmananda Prabhu was very amazed. Prabhupada said it happened. And when Brahmananda Prabhu was thinking about Prabhupada's dialogue, they'll publish it, don't worry, he was stunned. So at that time, Mr. James, he broke the silence and he said that bring the manuscript tomorrow and we'll do the needful. Now our Brahmananda Prabhu, he ran to Prabhupada. He was so happy. He was so happy to talk about this particular thing, what had taken place. And when Brahmananda Prabhu was describing all that, Prabhupada was as if he knew everything. And next day, Srila Prabhupada personally, with the manuscript, he went to the Macmillan skyscraper. He went there and then he had a nice talk with Mr. James. Mr. James was interviewed. He said, when Swamiji entered our place, the entire place became very vibrant and very effulgent. And we felt very nice to interact with Swamiji. And there's a long interview with Mr. James he gives. Now, after this, what happened is, this Macmillan, they had a series of spiritual books and they had a constraint. The constraint was the book has to be around 300 pages. And our Srila Prabhupada's commentary was 1,000 pages. So now Brahmanand Prabhu was told that you have to reduce it to 300 pages. And Brahmanand Prabhu tells Prabhupada, this is what they're saying. And Prabhupada said, do whatever they want, I want it to be published. Just make sure that editing should be done by us, not them. Prabhupada was very clear, as it is moved. So at that time, two disciples of Srila Prabhupada, Hayagriva Prabhu and Rai Rama Prabhu, so they were appointed for this and they brought down the 1,000 pages book into 300 pages book. And before the deadline that was given by Macmillan, the final copy, the final manuscript was given to them for printing. But now, the book cover was not ready. So Srila Prabhupada called a Mataji from Hawaii, Govinda Dasi. And now they were having a discussion that what should be the book cover? And they were discussing about the battlefield and all that. So at that time, Srila Prabhupada told her that we will not present the battlefield scene. Maybe we will present the Vishwaroop scene. The 11th chapter, Vishwaroop. And these people were hippies. This entire scene would be more of psychedelic scene. ऐसे drugs लेने के बाद कुछ अजीब दिखता होगा ना उन लोगों को. They will be able to connect more. How much Prabhupada thinks? So he asked Govinda Dasi Mataji that you paint. So she painted Vishwaroop scene and that was given to Macmillan. Now these people, they felt that this is some otherworldly picture and the audience will not be able to relate much. So they removed most of the hands and they just left 4 hands to the Vishwaroop scene. Now Govinda Dasi was really taken aback. She said, my painting, hands removed, only 4 are there. And then she took that to Srila Prabhupada. He said, don't worry so much. Now he is Vishnu, superior to Vishwaroop. So this was the thing that took place. So the book cover was ready now. The 300 pages edited version was ready. Now Prabhupada, if you see in Prabhupada's books, see everything was instructed by Prabhupada. Nothing was just whimsically done. Even the name of Prabhupada, where it should be, Prabhupada would instruct his disciples. You take up any book of Srila Prabhupada, you will see that there will be painting of the Lord and below there will be the name of Srila Prabhupada. Have you noticed? While distributing books? Yes. So below. And Prabhupada's mood was this, that Lord should be above, servant should be below. That was the mood of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada never wanted the name to be on the side of Lord's picture. But now what this Macmillan people did was, they published with Prabhupada's name besides the Lord. On the left side of the Lord. And Prabhupada saw this. And then when this was shown, Prabhupada said, I think it's all right. The energy of the Lord is on the left side. And the Jivatmas are expansions of this energy, so no problem. So in this way you see, so obviously this was not the scene that was there as per the description we understand. But the name you can see. So the name is just besides the photo of the Lord. So in this way, this abridged version, 300 pages version, was published in the year 1968. And then in 1972, BBT was formed, Bhaktivedanta Book Trust. And then through Macmillan again, Prabhupada published now the unabridged version, the 1,000 pages one. Now it's very nice to note about Mr. James. So he worked in Macmillan from 1965 to 1969, and after that he left. But in these few years when he was there, 3 to 4 years when he was there in Macmillan, he did this amazing service of publishing a pure devotees edition of Gita. Can you imagine? He acted as an instrument to publish Bhagavad Gita as it is. So in this way, Bhagavad Gita as it is came into picture. 1972 was that very wonderful version with all the 1,000 pages, with full commentary of Srila Prabhupada. And this was the book. This was the scene on the cover page. And it is described that book, which was published in 1972, had a lot of different silly mistakes. But even with all those silly mistakes, some grammatical errors here and there, still this book transformed lives of many people. Many people. But Srila Prabhupada always wanted a flawless book. Without any, even on the material platform, there shouldn't be any errors. So I requested many devotees. If I'm not wrong, one of them was Jayadvait Maharaj also in the team. And then they came up, with the next edition without, removing all these different errors, correcting them. And what we're distributing today is that book as sanctioned by Srila Prabhupada. So the important thing is what the Acharya wants, that has to be done. And here in this entire pastime, one thing is very clear. You look at Srila Prabhupada's mode. First time, the manuscript stolen. Second time, don't know how much he had written using those typewriter and dictaphone. That was stolen. And for the second time, he completed the entire manuscript. One thing that we can see is, when it comes to pure devotees of the Lord, they don't take a step back. They always keep moving in front. Pure devotees are like Mother Ganga. So the river Ganga, she keeps flowing. And whenever there's an obstacle, what happens? What she does? She goes back. She just makes her path and she moves. This is exactly how pure devotees work. So pure devotees, they don't stop their entire activity of Krishna consciousness when there is obstacle. They just keep moving and moving. Needed, they'll change the path, but they'll keep moving. They'll just keep moving. Because their only goal is, somehow or the other, the service should be rendered for the pleasure of Lord Sri Krishna. This is the only mood that they have. And through this pastime, we can easily make out that how a devotee should be persistent, always, determined, always in service of the Lord. Another very important thing that we see is that when it comes to disciples of Prabhupada, they were very clear. Prabhupada has told, we have to just do it. वो अपना दिमाग नहीं लगाते थे. They were very clear. They just execute the instruction given by Prabhupada. And literally they were seeing miracles like this. Literally they would see miracles like this. And when they would go to Prabhupada, Prabhupada would be, you already knew all this. And another very nice thing to note, the words of pure devotees will always come true. Satyam vidhatam nijabhritya bhashitam. Narasimhadev, in the Narasimhadev pastime, this very beautiful shloka comes. That Lord Narasimhadev appeared to prove the words of Prahlad Maharaj, who is his own servant, true. And here we see Prabhupada is saying something and that's coming true. This is not just one pastime. Many pastimes are there like this in Prabhupada Leela, where Prabhupada has spoken something and that comes true. So in this way, this is how Bhagavad Gita as it is was published.